Hello, everybody. This is Rob FreDette with the podcast Hodgepod. I have an awesome guest on my podcast for this episode, Rashad Woods, and he has a podcast of his own. It's called the Tron Podcast, the Randomness of Nothing. And I'm going to let him talk to you about what it's all about. He talks to entrepreneurs, creators, and fascinating people from all walks of life. And you can also find his website at www.tronpodcast.com. That's TRON podcast.com. Rashad, welcome to my podcast, and I'm looking forward to having you on.
Thank you very much for the wonderful intro, and it's a pleasure to be on here as well, too. And I've been able to be fortunate enough to have great conversations with fascinating people, and I'm very much looking forward to that, to continuing with you.
Absolutely. Well, you've had some fascinating conversations. Talk about your podcast. How did you come about doing it? Because putting together a podcast is not easy.
Not at all.
I went back and forth for 3 years before I decided to do it.
Right.
Talk about your journey starting the podcast, because you're really rolling right now.
I appreciate that. So you ever met that guy at the barbecue or at the get together that like can dive into like any conversation? Like, how did you know that random stupid thing, which isn't relevant, but it's kind of cool that you know it, right? He's just fascinating. He's just fascinating enough to talk to, but just annoying that you kind of want to get away from it at the same time. Like, I'm that guy. Like, I really am, right? So I found myself, I always read encyclopedias. I always watched documentaries. I always knew random things. I would insert little quotes when I'm talking to people that people wouldn't know, but people who knew were like, dang, that was really cool that you segued into that. Right. So it got to the point where finally I was like, well, what if I could take my little anecdotes and little idiosyncrasies, so to speak, and just talk to people about what they do. How did you make this? I'm a guy where literally if I drive past a building, I'll be like, what's the history of that building? Who built it? Who founded it first? Was it passed down from families, right? It's almost like being like everything is kind of a museum, whatever you walk into, right? Everything has a history or some basis that you need to know more about. So I've kind of always been like that. It's a lot cooler being a nerd post 2010 as opposed to in the 90s. Right. It didn't make for very good fun growing up. But that's how I kind of fascinated that. And I've had a chance to talk to great people as a result.
Yeah, that's why you and I are like almost identical, because I'm one that likes historical buildings and historical facts. And I like to go to places where historical events happen just to see what it was like and picture it when you see it on film. And I'm one that take pictures of everything that I see, historical things. So I'm one of those guys. Yeah, I'm that guy. Before we got on, you were talking about traveling the Gordie Howe Bridge.
Yeah.
In your neck of the woods up in Detroit. And I was telling you, I said, I grew up in New England I saw Gordie Howe play when he was in his 50s for the New England Whalers and Hartford Whalers. So I'm that guy there. I probably have done everything or something. And I can give you a little splash about what it is, but I think it's life experiences, right? And life experiences we have. And also, like you said, you like historical, watching documentaries.
Of course. And so I, one time out of my own free will, decided I wasn't tortured to do it. I watched a 10-part miniseries on dictators during World War II, right? So like, even though the prominent names get attention, there were still other people that were involved in that part of history. One person in particular who, is Francis Franco, right? In Spain, right? So people don't talk about that guy. They talk about Hitler, they talk about Mussolini. And here's this he ruled Spain for like 78. Right. So even though in knowing that information helps you cultivate a different view of the world, it makes you kind of segue to people who are in that kind of respective lane. And then you can have those conversations, non-judgmental, but just like, how did you do that? And then it segues to entrepreneurs because their minds are always moving. Their minds are always thinking forward, not what's in front of them. And so I kind of segue between people who have historical information versus their career accomplishments and their goals.
Yeah, and you had mentioned Franco and Mussolini and Hitler, but Stalin was an ally about World War II.
Absolutely. Isn't that nuts?
And then he was an ally, and I've had some guests on my podcast dealing with the Cold War. Cold War is one of that part of history which fascinates me because of the dynamic and the Berlin Wall. But Stalin was an ally, and then 2 years later, it's the Cold War. We're end up enemies, and it's like, how did that happen?
Correct. And the guy almost had a nervous breakdown when Hitler invaded Russia, right? But we all know how that disaster ended because he tried to invade Russia during the winter, right? And then that's a big, big, big place to try to invade. And his soldiers were unprepared for that. And so, yeah, like all these people, 1 minute they're your enemy, next minute they're their friend. It depends on the situation at hand. And so I try to segue between historical things, non-judgmental. Like I don't judge. I don't want people on there giving their political opinion or their religious opinion because that gets very, very tribal, so to speak. But I try to just sit back and say, what makes you fascinating? What created you? And how did you get to the place that you are? And if it's history, if it's business, if it's a particular invention, I'm kind of a Swiss Army knife when it comes to that topic a little bit.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it. Swiss Army knife. I never thought of it that way. That's awesome. Yeah. So how long did it take you to get with the concept of your podcast and get it rolling? And because podcast, once you get it up and running, it pretty much runs itself sometimes.
Yeah, it took once I got out of my own head and wanted to make sure that people actually wanted to hear what I had to say, it took about a month to really I don't want to say master it, but just feel comfortable knowing when to shut up, knowing when somebody has something they want to talk about, vetting the guest to make sure, because sometimes you may not be a good fit for them just as much they may not be a good fit for you. So you owe it to make sure that you have those a match that makes for a compelling conversation. So once I actually got people on there and I was actually like, wow, you really want to talk to me? And then you wait for that review and you're like, is it going to be good? Is it going to be bad? Because not everybody's going to like what you have to say, and you have to be willing to take that too. So once I got the ball rolling, I've done about 100 episodes and it's been fun. It's been really interesting to be able to segue into this, but no, it's not easy at all.
No, it's not. And one good thing about the podcast medium is that you can have lengthy conversations. You don't have to have interruptions, and you can, I like to have my guests talk. And I think that's one of the things that people like. You can listen to a podcast in your car when you walk.
Yes.
And when you're cleaning the house. So it's
absolutely
it's kind of like you control when you want to listen to it. Like you, I like to just not get too controversial because there's enough of that out there. There's always good things to learn on podcasts.
Absolutely. And the thing is about it too, is you never want to gotcha the guest, right? So it's very important to, if it's about your success and your story and your business and we had a conversation and you came in good faith, it's my job to be respectful and not drop landmines on the guest. Like if you got arrested as you're 16 years old and we didn't talk about that before, I'm not going to talk about that unless you bring that up, right? Because it's very important not to be like, oh, by the way, let's dig in on you on this topic here. So, I'm not Oprah. This is not the confessional couch, so to speak. It's you don't have to bare your soul to me, but let's make it for a good banter back and forth.
Yeah, I love it having guests on as yourself. We can just talk about anything. We're going to talk about anything because it's going to be random.
Of course, appreciate
it. So you went to Michigan State. I was looking at yeah, so you're a Big Ten. I'm University of Maryland. We kind of jumped in the Big Ten back about 10 years ago. So
yeah.
Big Ten's a brutal conference.
Yeah, it is. I don't know if I'm not the biggest college sports fan. So, but I do appreciate the dynamics of it all. Even though I went to state, I segued more into martial arts. I was kind of the guy on the outside looking in. That being said, my brother went to U of M. They won yesterday, and they won a national championship last year. So I'm excited for the chance to see how the Spartans do.
Yeah, I watched that Michigan-Wisconsin game, and it's just amazing how many people get into
oh my gosh,
the Big House. It's amazing.
Oh my gosh, dude. I mean, I went to their basketball camps as a kid a lot. And what's funny is I watch a ton of NFL, right? Right. Not a ton. I couldn't tell you every play on every team, but people you don't watch college. I'm like, dude, football is a commitment. You have to watch Saturday. You have to watch 1:00 Saturday, 4:00, 1:00 Sunday, 4:00 Sunday, the Sunday night game, the Monday night game, doubleheader, Thursday. And it's listen, man, you know what? I think I'll just stick. It's heavy, man. I'm not hating. I'm not, but it's a commitment. It's a heavy lifting, and it's on 12 different networks too now.
Yeah, you don't know which game is on which channel, which network, and I've done something here.
Oh my gosh!
I used to watch the big games. I like watching the random games, the teams that aren't ranked, because I just like seeing the pageantry. I love the uniforms, the play.
Oh, for sure.
It was I forget. I watched so many games yesterday, just flicking the channels.
Oh, no doubt.
I watched the North Carolina Clemson game yesterday. So that was
how's Bill Belichick doing down there? How's that working out?
He's not doing too well. I don't know what's going on. I thought I was on the bandwagon for that. I don't know what's going on.
It makes you wonder who really had the juice up there. You know what I mean? Was it him or Brady?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned you're in the martial arts. So
Yeah.
while getting ready for this, which part of the martial arts are you in? Because that is pretty, that takes discipline.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So I started off when I was like 8 to 11. I did Taekwondo. Then I started playing. I dropped off. Full disclosure, martial arts is a lonely person sport when all the team sports are at school, right? So then when you get dropped off in martial arts, you're away from school. So you have to stay into it. So I did Taekwondo from about 8 to 11. Then I got to college at Michigan State, got back into it. Did it from like my freshman year to my senior year, got it to a brown belt. So it's Taekwondo. Then when I got married, got kids, I went into Tong Sudo, which is also South Korean as well, too. I eventually got my first dan/black belt in that about 5 years ago. And so in between then, I've also done a little bit of Isshin-Ryu, which is Japanese. I've done Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for a little bit. I did Muay Thai, which is from Thailand as well, too.
Wow. So does it hurt when you got you're in combat? Does it hurt?
Oh, it definitely hurts. And I boxed for a little bit, too. Oh, no doubt. Listen. Getting punched in the face or getting kicked in the face is a life-altering experience. And I'll also say this, too. Anybody and being choked out, I've been put to sleep, man. So, night, yellow stars, whole nine, right? So, when it comes to getting choked out in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So, I'll just say this. It's just like football. Anybody who says they've never had the bell rung is lying to you. Anybody who said they've never been cracked in martial arts or choked out is lying to you. They're absolutely 100% full of it.
Wow. Yeah. So does that help you in your everyday life? Just the fitness part of it, the mental part? Because I'm big into fitness as well. And
yeah,
if you don't have fitness, that kind of might make your life a little bit more stressful.
Yeah. You know what it does too is at the end of the day, it's similar to, I'll put it this way. When you do martial arts, I'll never be in anybody's history book, but I can walk into a place that practices martial arts and say, I'm somebody who's done this. Right. It's like somebody who's a musician, right? They can walk into a music store and say, you may never have heard of me, but I can play that instrument. Right. And it's something that's really unique in the sense that it translates to your real life because you're always understanding that you're big part of something a little bit bigger than what yourself was because it's a part of a culture, it's part of a history, it has a rich history. And then two, when people do talk to you about that specific topic and they know what they're talking about, it makes for a great conversation. I love talking to people who practice martial arts because what did you take? What style? What tournament? The country, the lineage, the person that trained you. Where'd you learn from? It gets all fascinating. Could my style work with yours? It's really fun, man. It's a geek. It's kind of a geek world.
So is there different forms of martial arts for each one that you talked about? Because so you really have to know which one is in which category.
Yes. So traditionally, I've focused on striking, punches, kicks, elbows, knees on my feet. It was funny. Obviously, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, even though it's been around, it has origins in judo. It's gotten more popular from UFC and mixed martial arts. So I decided to go into that a couple of years ago. And then when I got into it, I never wrestled, right? So I had no basis on any level of grappling at all. So it was like, you're a fish out of water, man. You're on ground, you're ready to panic and get me back up, right? Somebody's smothering you, choking you out. So it's but it's a level of satisfaction when you somewhat get it because, again, it just takes a leap of faith similar to a podcast. You have to get over your fear. You have to get over the looking stupid, so to speak. Right. And then you just have to take that leap of faith in yourself. I'm not saying I'm great by any stretch of the imagination. I haven't been there in a little bit, but at the same time, I'm glad I started it.
Yeah. Well, so when you started your podcast, have you gone back to listen to your first few episodes to the latest ones? Did you notice any differences? Because I have on mine.
Oh, yeah, same thing, man. I was atrocious. It's funny. People were saying you're nice, and it's almost like you're applauding your kid for kicking the ball, right? Yeah, Junior, you did a really good job, right? Even if it wasn't. So similar, getting good reviews early. You're listen, I probably sucked, but I didn't completely offend you, right? And we got through the 30 minutes that were on there, so I'll consider that a win. Now it's at the point where you actually start feeling good, about what you did. And then you see the host, the guests laughing, and you see them actually asking you more questions, and they're giving you, hey, man, I really enjoyed myself. I feel thank God. It's never an ego back on the slap on the back moment. You're just thank God that went well.
Yeah, some folks would tell me, man, that was a great, one of my first, I said, I was horrible, man. Thank you very much. The guest was awesome. I was horrible. And that's one thing. It was like, now I look back at it now, good though, because I did that about a couple of months ago. I went back and listened to my first few to my latest ones, and I still need some things to work out, but it was quite ear opening too. Ear opening.
Oh, for sure.
Ear opening. So you said you went to the University of Michigan basketball camp. So what big time college players were there when you were there? Because I'm always into like the Fab Five from the early 90s. And I always remember those days and even before that as well.
It's crazy because it was the Steve Fisher basketball camp when I went to as a kid. So I went like 4 straight years. And it's funny, I met Juwan Howard. I met Steve Fisher like 3 times. Cool. And then eventually like Leonard Ellerby was the next, I think, was it Leonard? Not Leonard. I wasn't Leonard. Leonard Ellerby's a boxing. Excuse me. It was somebody named Leonard who was the coach after Steve Fisher. And so he took over the camp, and then by the time I was like 14, I stopped going. So you'd be up there for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and it was really a really good time. And so what's funny about playing basketball, right? I always laugh at this. You will find out real quick where you're going versus what you're not going in athletics, right? When you can't do certain things, irregardless of how your effort is, you realize that that's just not in the cards for you, right? So when you're 15 and 5'8", 16 and 5'8", you're like, yeah, this probably ain't gonna work out too much. And so a lot of self-reflection came place as I was decent, but I knew I wasn't good enough to play at a high level. So
well, basketball growing up, that's a great sport to play because you learn about teamwork, you learn working hard to get where you need to go. And I always remember the Fab Five from the early 90s.
Oh, they were sensational.
To think that they went to the national championship game as freshmen is mind-blowing.
2 years in a row.
Yeah.
2 years in a row. And what's even crazier is that they might be, and I say this respectfully for those guys, the most popular losing team that's been in the history of sports, right? Like, think about it, because they were more what they did from a social, societal, or impact didn't translate to the big championship. Like they lost to North Carolina and lost to Duke, right? And those guys are overshadowed because of what those guys represented, 5 freshmen and the baggy shorts, the bald heads, and they all came together and they created a juggernaut for only 2 years, right? It's crazy, right? It was lightning in a bottle.
What's amazing now, we can get games on our phones, we can get games
oh my gosh.
channel, but back in the early 90s, a lot of people who are not old enough to remember it, they could be on in the afternoons on the game of the week, and that was massive ratings. I remember watching all the Fab Five games. I was just like blown away by them, and it was must-watch television, especially going against the likes of North Carolina and Duke at the time. That was like major watching basketball.
What's crazy is that when I get a chance to not date myself, because I'm 42, right? So like you and I are in the same ilk where we grew up with technology, but we still remember nostalgic things, right? So it's like you remember a CD player, a tape player, having to actually sit down and watch a show, or if a movie came out, you had to wait 16, 18 months for it to come on tape. Like literally I was scrolling through my TV, I'm like, dang, Superman's already on freaking like streaming. I'm like, dang. Look, I just saw that movie like a month ago, right? Or you're like Fantastic Four. You're like, that movie dropped like, it's so like all the dynamics have changed, right? Where you get instant gratification. And the movie studios only have 5 weeks to recoup if a movie makes money or not, or if it's going to be successful. But yeah, to your point, you really don't have to dedicate your time except to a sporting event if you want your own entertainment. Sports are the one thing you really don't want to delay watching.
No, because it's always live. And once you find out the result, it's not watch it. It just just watching some of the NFL games today, it's amazing when you watch from the start to finish some of the games. You think the teams are going to win, and another team just comes from behind. So it boggles the mind because NFL football is just like insane.
Oh, dude, man, there's nothing like it. There really, truly isn't. And so you're from the New England area. Just later tonight, Drake May is playing against Josh Allen tonight. They don't really play against each other, so to speak, but like it's the game of the week. And I joke and laugh because I'm like, talk about that guy. Like, God bless him because he could All-American, best player in the high school, college, etc. You walk in New England Patriots, you see 6 Super Bowls and that guy's face on the frickin', you're like, yeah, I'm nothing. Like, think about the ego-shattering moment when you walk into the hall of following up Tom Brady. Like, you can do whatever you want up there, dude. You're never going to duplicate that, you know.
Yeah, and I remember when they had Mac Jones as the quarterback, they had different offensive coordinators. Belichick left and Gerard Mayo came. And now I'm really thrilled that Mac Jones is like 3-0 right now for the 49ers. And it's just like, all he had to do was just give it a chance.
Right.
Coach him the right way. Coach him. And I'm happy for Mac Jones. He went through hell those 3 years he was in New England. I felt bad for him.
You know who I was a huge Drew Bledsoe fan. I had his jersey as a kid. Like people, how that guy's not in the Hall of Fame is disgraceful, right? Because like if you look at his stats compared to what other people accomplished, like yeah, he didn't have the best ending to his career, but I'll put the first 9-10 years of that dude's career up against just about anything.
Yeah.
Really, realistically, I mean, he took a team that was not that great to the Super Bowl of '96 against Green Bay. Let's be honest, that team had no business being there.
No.
Right. And so like the unfortunate distinction he has is he was in the hall of very good, almost great. And then that guy followed him back up, right? But if you judge him on his own merits, he was a phenom. Like the guy was sensational. And I wish he got more credit than he gets right now, to be quite honest with you. I was a huge fan of his.
Yeah, he was the number 1 overall pick, I believe it was in 93.
And lived up to the hype.
Yeah, and he did live up to the hype. And when they went to the Super Bowl, like you said, against the Packers, it was the Packers were loaded and the Patriots
oh my gosh.
getting there. And a lot of people don't remember this young enough. Patriots were not very good before then. And
no.
The late 80s and early 90s were awful. I was going to games when they were 1-15 to 2-14. So there was 30,000. You could walk up on the day of a game and buy a ticket. So that's how it was.
That's what I'm saying. So before he was going against Dan Marino, right? This guy was going he was in the Vinny Testaverde, I think, was getting there at the time too. So it wasn't like he was in some cake division, and he was going against what he accomplished in those years that he was up there. He kind of built the foundation for what you guys accomplished. He really, truly did, because he turned the corner of making you guys from mediocre to very good.
Yeah, he did. And also with Bledsoe, he always found a way to hit the receivers, and he made really good receivers because he would distribute the ball evenly amongst everybody. Yep. But yeah, Drew Bledsoe, truly a great Patriot. I agree with you wholeheartedly. He had some unbelievable numbers.
Oh my gosh. Oh yeah. Dude, like I said, I was rocking his jersey when I was 13 years old because I was a huge fan of his. Huge fan.
Yeah, I'm a huge Brady fan. I'm a Brady fan because he was truly tremendous. So I was it was crazy when they won their first Super Bowl against the Rams. That was eye opening for Celtics.
Oh my gosh.
Showing up in New England. The Celtics were doing great. They had some championships, but that was the beginning of the role of New England sports. But yes.
I always laugh because between Peyton and Eli, that dude could have won 11 or 12, right? Like think about the guy won 7, lost to Eli twice. Peyton knocked him out of the playoffs 3 times in the AFC Championship game. I'm like, this dude literally could have won 13 championships if it wasn't for those 2 guys. That is insane.
Yeah. And then
That's insane.
And if I remember, I don't remember the years, but he went from winning his first 3 to his next 3. There was a gap there of some years. So,
oh my God,
he missed a year because he got hurt the first game of the year.
He got hurt, right?
Yeah. So, but it's really a testament to him as well. So
unbelievable.
So one thing that you like documentaries. You mentioned earlier, documentaries are very interesting to watch because you see the historical reference. I love watching it too. I love the history that's told. What are some good things that we can learn from documentaries that you could think about? Because I think you can learn not to repeat mistakes. But what else? What about documentaries fascinates you?
Yeah, what's interesting is a lot of times it could even be something about engineering. You'll find out, unfortunately, engineering disasters or people didn't pay attention to things that could have been a warning sign and then eventually led into something bigger and worse, right? And it took somebody wasn't listened to, somebody wasn't heard, and then it becomes a cataclysmic event that was completely avoidable. So whether it's a personal standpoint from an individual, a group of people, or whether it's from something that was built, it's very important to take them serious at the time that things are happening, right? So that way you can pivot and not be a learning lesson, so to speak, that people will look back on and say, man, if we had only did this differently, this wouldn't have had this specific outcome. And I just love hearing the narration. So and I'll validate to the best of my ability when I listen to a documentary, is this true? Did this really happen in this particular scenario and situation? If only for my personal curiosity, or if somebody wasn't given the quote unquote attention in that documentary, I'll want to look a little deeper into that particular topic. So I love it because it feeds my personal curiosity more than anything else. And I think it's important to know that the things that are around you do have something behind them and not just a building with an address on it, so to speak.
Yeah, I agree. That's Documentaries are very important because you get to see like whether it's a history or a crime or just of that nature, like tragedies. You get to see, what actually happened, and those folks do a lot of research too. So,
oh, for sure, for sure. Yeah, I just watched one on that tsunami that took place in like when it was like Sri Lanka, Thailand, the one that took place back in like 2005, 2006 ish, and you're just like, unfortunately, obviously people died, and I would never make light of that. But how did the warning signs take place? Because like they showed that there was no actual like warning system in the Indian Ocean, right? There's one in the Pacific, but the people in Hawaii were getting notifications of things that were taking place, and by the time they were trying to communicate with people over there, it was too late. They couldn't even, because all the phones were down. So it's just hearing how those things can take place. I mean, realistically, every part of the earth is only one cataclysmic away from being a part of a documentary.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. So on your other podcast, I've heard you talk about music as well. So music is a great way to bring people together, as is
absolutely.
And on a previous episode that you were on of another podcast, you were talking about the likes of Jimi Hendrix and different genres. So what about music propels you?
Oh man, listen, here's a quick anecdote about myself. I can't play an instrument to save my life or sing a note at all. Like I suck. Not even I just can't do it. But I love listening. And the fascinating part about music for me is you shouldn't limit yourself to the genre because of, oh, you're supposed to only like something because who you are. Meaning that if you like Westerns, if you like action movies, nobody judges anybody what movies they watch. But people get very like questionable when you like different types of music, because then they're like, you're not supposed to listen to that. Dude, I love Nine Inch Nails. I love Soundgarden. I love Alice in Chains. I'll listen to Metallica or Jimmy, like you said, Jimi Hendrix. And then I'll go ahead and listen to DMX. It's very important. It gets well-rounded. I work out. I get different moods. I like to be in my car, hear different things. Where did that lyric come from? Were they stoned when they made that lyric? Were they in a deep, were they out of their mind, right? I'll listen to Curtis Mayfield. You know what I mean? So, and what's funny is the music that somebody says you shouldn't like, the person that you listen to likes that same type of music that somebody else says you shouldn't listen to. You think your favorite producer doesn't like country music and they're a rap producer? Of course they do. Right? Because there's only so many musical notes to draw inspiration from. So they have to listen to Hank Williams or they have to listen to Johnny Cash to get a feel for ear of music, right? That's how all the rap samples have came out, right? They didn't just get it from Sly Stone and from James Brown and from Bootsy Collins and them. They got it from other musical genres, right? And so you always have to be listening, and then you learn about other things.
Interesting. Well, you mentioned I listen to all different types. The other day I was listening to Notorious B.I.G. I just,
of course,
greatest hits and songs. It was just like it's just great music. And like you said, Alice in Chains, Metallica. I get in moods from 70s, 80s. Where I don't listen to anything like pop or rock. I get in those moods. So
and like you said, it's the feel for the day, right? Sometimes if you want to kind of just be like in the gym and you want to really, really work out really well, then you're going to pop in Alice in Chains, right? You're going to have that list of, it's going to go from Alice in Chains to Smashing Pumpkins and Metallica to Megadeth because it's really going to be like, okay, I need to up it up a notch. And then some days you just chill, right? And you'll just listen to the OJs and stuff. You're like, man, I'm in a happy, I just want to hear, I love music 27 times, right? I'm going to live my life musically the way that I want to. I'm not going to sit back and be like, I shouldn't hear something.
Yeah, music is a great unifier. What was the last song you heard on your playlist? Well, if you can remember.
I literally just listened to Last Resort by Papa Roach.
Wow.
I literally just listened to it on the way here. I'm like, I just want to listen. And anybody who grew up in early 2000s when there was like, what's that? TRL, right? Like, so who didn't have or MTV, or when videos actually played on TV, you wait for a video to come out, right? And now it's just easy consumption. And there's sadness to it in a way, right? So there was something social about going to a Blockbuster, waiting in line, picking out a movie, and then having that family event, right? Now everybody can just sit in the room and pick whatever they want. And then they don't have to talk to each other, right? And then so it's a fine line between I get my immediate entertainment versus I can close myself off from the world.
Yeah. You mentioned Blockbuster. I remember going there. You'd walk into a Blockbuster. They'd have that big like section there where all the employees work when you scan the videos out, and then the walls with all the latest releases. And
absolutely,
you go to get that movie, and they wouldn't have anything. It would be gone. You have to wait, and it'd be like, oh man, when's the next one coming? Or they would let you know that you're late, and you have to pay a late fee. That's amazing.
What's funny though? What's funny about it is sometimes you would be looking for that movie and somebody would drop it off just when you were asking about it, and you'd be like, "Oh my!" And you're like, "Dude, like, you're thanking God because you got the movie that you always, or the video game, and somebody just slapping it in that window, and then you're like, "Hey, can you see if that's it?" And it was it, right? But the other thing that would happen sometimes is you would find other material because the one you looked for wasn't there. Right. You would be looking for that movie, and then you're like, okay, I need to get something because I'm here. And then you would have to go your second or third or fourth selection, and you find something that was really good. Right.
Yeah. I remember getting 3 or 4 or 5 movies. You'd walk out, I don't even know how much it costs, $15, $3 a movie. And then you just like, you have to hurry up and watch them in 3 or 4 days.
Yep. Exactly.
Now we got our digital, I have my own digital library on Apple. If a movie comes up that I really like and it's cheap, I'll go ahead and buy it and put it in my digital library. So whatever.
Exactly. It's crazy, man. And to your point, it's easy and it's hard. It's actually harder now because everybody has a streaming service and you just can't keep up, right? You literally, I mean, we've all doom scrolled on the screen like, dude, I don't know what to watch. It's too much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's just way too much to pick from now.
Yeah. I remember going into record stores, and when you go through and look through the records and you'd buy a record here and there, those days are sort of coming back. People are into vinyl now, but I remember those days. I mean, that was like an excited event time to go out.
Absolutely,
even going to Blockbuster. You would drive to Blockbuster. It was you were excited to get some movies.
Yes.
The experience of doing that, and now, like you said, it's like everything is just like, I don't know. It's everybody's in their own lane, and sometimes my wife and I were out a few weeks ago, and the family is just everybody's on their phone. They're not even talking to each other. It's like
right.
Talk. We put our phone down when we eat. I got to put the phone down.
You have to decompress, man. It's crazy because the information is more accessible than it ever has been before, but people are more distant than they ever have been. And if you have kids or if you don't have kids, like somebody will be texting somebody for a long time, like, why don't you just pick up and call them? No. And you're like, seriously? You've been texting them for like 25 minutes. Why don't you just talk to them on the phone? But you don't even, the mind doesn't even cross you. You should actually just talk to that person, right? It's easier to just have a 15-minute conversation, but you'd rather just text them for an hour and a half, right? And so I've been guilty of it, but you start to learn that the podcast world was the reason why I started this, because there's something deeper than just an emoji, and something more deeper than just LOL, right? Like, how fascinating and how deep can you really go while being authentic, right? I don't want to be a shock jock person. I don't want to be a political pundit. There's nothing more annoying than people who just sit back and take either side, and then they talk about what somebody said, and then they psychobabble it for an hour and a half. And you're like, seriously? Like, really? Like, you really, like, they said that? No, they didn't say that. They said that? No, they didn't say that. We really actually going to have watched? I have no interest in that, because what is that really accomplishing? I always say people's opinions on stuff like that is like your favorite food. If you actually diss what somebody likes or doesn't like, that means they're going to consume more of it. So I just stay out of it. And I want to cultivate positive experiences.
Yeah, one thing that I can't stand is when you see people texting while they're driving. Why not?
Oh my gosh.
Put a speakerphone. Put it on the speaker.
Yeah, absolutely. 150%. 150%.
Nothing irks me more, because so many accidents happen because people text, and you'll see things on social media. We talk about social media, but you'll see somebody like in a cab of a truck and they're texting, and then the truck goes off the road.
You've seen bus drivers.
Yeah.
Bus drivers, right? And you're like, holy smokes, this is a bus driver. A vehicle that needs a football field to stop if it's going 40, 50 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Right? It's crazy, man. Unfortunately, this digital world has things are more accessible, but they're also more dangerous.
So what have you learned from your podcast? You've talked to various people. You and I have talked to some common guests as well.
Yeah.
What have you learned from some of your guests? One uncommon guest we had was CJ Shaman, the rock singer.
He was awesome. He was a lot of fun.
He was awesome.
He's a lot of fun.
He was
a lot of fun. I think the biggest thing that I've taken away from being a podcast is that the world is much bigger than the street you live on, the zip code that you live in, and the state that is your territorial zone. And if you're willing to expand your mind, I'm talking to you right now. You and I wouldn't have crossed paths had we not delved into the same digital world. I've talked to people from England, Australia, and various other countries, and you just would never have that opportunity if you wouldn't get out of your own head and said, I think I can do this, right? And then you realize, even you listen to your listeners and you see your stats, you're like, I got people listening to me in UK, like seriously? I got people from Germany listening to me? You're like, are you for real? And it's wild because you're like, this can't be real. And you think there's some sort of catch to it. So knowing that, it means that you're doing something right and you're in the right space, right? Because I think people crave authenticity. There's a lot to be said of people who have made it through social media, the Jake Pauls of the world, and that's a great thing that he's done. I'm not knocking him for it, but he carved his lane out by doing those types of things. But you're a cheap imitator if you just want to do that too, right? Like, oh, all I got to do is be outlandish, outrageous, and then try to get a fight with Mike Tyson. No, that's because that's who he is. That's authentically who he is. So you need to be authentically you to get people like you that I get a chance to talk to.
Right. And you mentioned Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. Was it 70 million people watched that fight? Is that
unbelievable? Yeah. They attempted to watch it because it glitched like crazy.
Yeah. I grew up with Mike Tyson back in the late 80s, early 90s. And
Stone Cold Killer.
Yeah. And I thought that was a great event. I thought it was a great event because people could watch it. People love nostalgia, and people, doesn't matter how old you are, people will want to see Mike Tyson in his 50s box a younger man.
Exactly.
And to think that 70 million people, if it was working, watched that, it boggles the mind. I mean, it's amazing.
I mean, look at how big Stranger Things is, man. Like, right? So think about, like, when you watch Stranger Things, all you're thinking of is, man, that reminds me of those Spielberg movies I used to watch. It reminds me of those Stephen King books or TV series that I used to watch, right? So it immediately puts your mind into things that you love. So now you have a situation where people who are in their late 30s to early 50s are bringing their kids, their nieces, their nephews, or even their grandkids if they have them, to stuff that they love. And if the things are done respectfully, or nostalgia sells when it's done correctly, or even if it's to a degree when it's not. But at the same time, we have an opportunity to always be entertained. And I think the people who are really good at it, that put the Mike Tyson thing together, as bad of a look of it as a 60-year-old guy, all the people that loved Mike Tyson growing up were like, let me see what he can still do. Because if he still catches this guy, he can still knock him out.
Yeah, I thought it was a fascinating event to put on. That was just my opinion. I think,
for sure,
you get 70 million people to watch it. And one thing you mentioned about podcasts, people can listen all over the world. Like you mentioned, every podcaster has it where people listen. I've had people just in the last week, Italy, Philippines, Singapore, Spain. So it's just like,
it blows your mind.
Yeah.
It blows your mind because you're like, this can't be, like, how can you be listening to me? Right. So like, it's almost, and because there's not I don't want to say there's not gatekeepers, but if you can control your own fate when it comes to putting yourself out there, right? You're not waiting for somebody, you're not asking for permission to put this out, right? You can go ahead in your garage, in your basement, in a studio, and just start just like you, in the spare bedroom, and then it can lead to other things. So there's nobody holding you back, right? And so now you just have a chance to really have your voice be heard, and it's a great thing that this has allowed people to do these things.
Yeah, you mentioned Stranger Things. I do not have Netflix, but I do know when Stranger Things came out, there was a resurgence in 80s music that came out.
For sure.
I think maybe one or two songs hit the top 100, I believe.
Yeah.
And it was like, wow. It was like, nostalgia sells, and people probably who grew up in the 80s love watching that show, and the young folks watching it. But
yes,
it also introduced young folks to the music of the 80s.
Oh, for sure. And they got to cast the kids on the show, or now young adults. And it's like, they really would have had to do their homework because they wouldn't know what a rotary phone was. They wouldn't have known that before there's no cell phones, or there's a landline, or like, think about it. Like when you grew up, if you have kids, nieces or nephew, like you would never let them go out without a cell phone on them. Well, you did that all the time. Like it was a norm to be gone for hours on end without being able to call back home. Or if you did, you checked back in once, or you had to use a payphone maybe. But other than that, it was just like, I'm going to be here and I'm going to be back when I need to be at the appropriate time. Now it's like, you better have your cell phone on you, because then you're calling every 15 minutes, 20 minutes to see where they're at. It's like, dude, like, but 30 years ago, 35 years ago, you were gone for 3, 4, 5 hours at a time, maybe longer.
Yeah. And
no questions asked.
Yeah, exactly. And we have Bluetooth here. You can hook up Bluetooth. And like, I just, as you were talking about that, I can't fathom back then we didn't have the technology, but we would go in a car for 4 or 5 hours and just not
cruise.
listen to the radio.
That's it. Right. You know what I mean? And so like, you would literally be off the grid. Like, you could be 2 towns over. Like, you could be 2 towns over and be a world away.
Yeah, exactly. And isn't it amazing? Like, technology on our phones, we can, like we were talking about music earlier, you can play or get your playlists on here, Sirius satellite radio, Apple Music, Spotify music. It's really like this phone that we have. I usually listen to music and podcasts. I really don't talk or text on it, really. It's my little entertainment center for me.
Nice. And so what's the funny part is, every service that you use for free, I always love this quote. I said, if it's free, you're not the customer, you're the product being sold. So, right, like at the end of the day, whatever you're using that's free, trust me, they're finding a way to make money off you.
Oh, nothing's free. Nothing's
free.
ever free. Trust me.
Not even close.
What other things you have coming down the pike on your podcast? Coming on your podcast? How often weekly? A couple times?
Yes. Yeah, weekly. I get a chance to talk to a lot of different fascinating entrepreneurs, business owners. I think that I don't want to oversaturate, put out too much every week. So I still have to do an ebb and flow of what's too much, what's too little. Audiences are now expecting episodes every week, but at the same time, you don't want to cannibalize your own episodes where people can't take in 1 or 2 good ones a week, right? So, and when you're doing this on your own, you're basically basing it off strictly feedback, right? And you're trying to basically find that nice little happy medium. What's fascinating, though, is people reach out to me, and I'm sure they're doing that the same to you. Whereas before, when you got out, you're like, man, I hope somebody wants to get booked. And then you start seeing requests coming in, and you're like, dude, seriously? Like, this is some weird stuff. People aren't supposed to be reaching out to me. I'm just a guy just outside of Detroit. But I think that when you carve a lane that's respectful, that's fascinating, that resonates with people, and you're being honest in your approach, good things can happen.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the case. Yeah, because I felt the same way. I hope I get a download when I first started.
Oh, I swear to God, dude.
I was like,
come on.
I hope I get a download, and all of a sudden, like, I put from my first episode out, and I was like, wow, 80 people have listened already. I was
oh
like,
my gosh, dude.
Was that
crazy,
like that for you?
It sure was, man. And then all of a sudden you look at like the Spotify stats and you're like, did this many people really listen to me? Seriously? You're like, it's not like you're not a broadcast journalism. You're not like the guy on like, hey, this is John on ABC for the first time, right? Like, you're literally, for all intents and purposes, in a basement or in a spare bedroom trying to get your voice out there. So it's a big accomplishment, and kudos to people who are willing to try.
Yeah, how long does it take you to put an episode together? A lot of work for you to get that each episode out?
Yeah, it's a little bit of work. So it could be like per episode usually takes like 45 minutes after editing and getting snippets and clips and stuff like that. Like I said, it's kind of exhausting too. Sitting in front of the computer and making compelling conversation. It's not, you can't just throw on a microphone and sing la-di-da-di all day from like Slick Rick. You know what I mean?
my time is early in the morning editing. I get up early in the morning and I edit. So
yeah,
my mind is fresh, and I stop it after. I'll do it the next day. So
good stuff.
So what other plans do you have for your podcast in the next, it's a video podcast as well, right?
Yeah, I would love to be able to, with some of these guests, especially ones that own businesses, I would love to be on site at their business and be like, hey, how did you create this product? Show us this process. Let's talk to some of your staff, your crew. What's your projection plan? How do you gain customers? I'm not asking them to open up their financial books. That's proprietary information. But I would love, if you're making something, like, show us how this is made. For the audience, show us what you do, because I think it's important to evolve. You don't want to, your first episode you should be much better on your 100th than you were on your first, right? Then you should be evolving the show to make sure that, okay, he knows he's going to have a 30-minute show. He knows they're going to have a good time. And he knows that ultimately, is somebody gaining something from this? Are they going to, is the person that I'm interviewing going to have a value add to their business or what they're offering to the rest of the listening base, so to speak? So that's the next evolution of the show. I think that's important.
Yeah, very important. And you had mentioned I worked years ago. I worked in the sports and entertainment business on the food side in stadiums and arenas and amphitheaters. And it's hard work, but I was always into the grind of the process. So when I watch a sporting event on TV or if I go to one, a couple of weeks ago, I went to a Colts game and they took the
Nice.
big American flag out. And I'm all for the process, just seeing people. It literally took 500 people to bring that flag out to cover the whole field.
Oh my gosh.
It was amazing. And
Yeah.
then also they have this like horseshoe that it took 30 people to push everything out there so the players could run out for 5 seconds.
It's unbelievable. Yeah.
It's just like things like you just mentioned. It's just like those little things, those not little things, but major things that make the event move. And those
Oh
are the
yeah.
things I look at. But like you said, you're like we mentioned, going into the business and seeing how it's done. It's the
Oh, for
grind
sure.
I really like in the process. I like the process.
Think about it. The NFL has got it to where you can actually watch something for 4 hours and only actually watch 27 minutes worth of the actual game. Think there's actually only 27 minutes of actual like play, first down, run, catch, etc. But you will sit from 1 to 5 o'clock and watch the entire thing.
You forget about the commercials, replays.
Swear to God, the commentator, the halftime show. Name one other product that can draw your attention for 4 hours and give you 27 actual minutes of the actual product.
I never thought of it that way. See, I just
Isn't that nuts?
No, that's crazy.
It's like 27 minutes. It's nuts. It's less than a half an hour.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like a NBA basketball game starts at 7 p.m., 9 p.m. It's done, and within 2 hours, what galvanizes you when you go to a sporting event is it's like it's an escape. It really is.
Oh, absolutely, it is. And so it just shows you what those businesses, and there's a reason why their rights sell for what they do, and they can go to 5 and 6 and 7 different platforms and charge whatever they want to those guys, and those people will pay whatever they want, and they got sold to the highest bidder. I mean, you look at the valuation of some of these sports teams, you're like, oh my gosh, it's insane, and that's not even touching the soccer teams, right? Even the lowest level NFL teams are worth $1-2 billion.
Yeah, no kidding. So you're in the Detroit area. Do you ever get to any Lions games?
Yeah, I haven't been lately, but I've been to a few of them before. It's a great experience. I'm actually where I'm recording out of right now is literally around the corner from the field.
Really?
Yeah, literally. Yeah.
Wow.
That's what. Yeah. Oh yeah. All the bars are packed because they just played the Bengals, so it's nuts, man. And they're having a good year this year too.
Yeah, they almost got there last year.
Yeah. There's some. It's a lot of fun too because they had some down years, so like people are very excited and they still have a lot of talent, and hopefully this is the year we do it.
Yeah, I hope so too. I'm a big Jared Goff fan. He's really good. He's really
He sure
awesome.
is.
And I like those Dan Campbell commercials last year when he was in what restaurant was it? O'Charlie's?
Yeah.
When he was going in there taking the orders or something like that with the people, and he had the headset on.
Really, like I said, man, it's been a fun time watching them revived.
I've really had an awesome conversation with Rashad Woods. He is the host of his own podcast, the Randomness of Nothing, the Tron Podcast. And
thank you.
I've really enjoyed having him on, and you could reach out to him or get on his website at www.tronpodcast.com. And Rashad, I'm truly honored that you came on, and I thank you for coming down the traffic. Come on here.
Yeah. Thank you.
Maybe we can connect again down the road, and I would really like that.
I really appreciate your time, and thank you very much for having me on. It's been an absolute honor and pleasure.